right, so now that we've covered our escapes, let's go a little bit deeper into this rabbit hole and talk about what happens if my partner gets one hook in from turtle position. Okay, understand that you can just simply fall to one side and you can fight to escape your partner having a single hook like you would in any other traditional back escape. I taught 8 or 9 hours of escapes in my backstack instructional. You can fall to a side and do any one of those escapes. But you can also do escapes where you stay in turtle position, and you use typical turtle escapes to shuck your partner off and away. And we can look at those. Now you may be asking yourself, okay, what are the main ways my partner can get a hook in from turtle position? There are two very simple and effective ways my partner can do this. She will be playing a simple dilemma between an open and a closed turtle. Okay, if my turtle is closed, it's very hard for her to insert hooks and backhand arm or hands, etc., etc. If my turtle is open, it is incredibly hard for her to knock me side to side, but incredibly easy for her to insert hooks. Okay, so if she's a closed turtle, it's impossible to put hooks in here, but embarrassingly easy to knock her to a hip. Whereas if she's in an open turtle, it's embarrassingly easy to insert hooks, but almost impossible to knock her to a side. Okay, so if I try to knock my partner down to a hip, and she's in a closed turtle, and she falls to a hip, I know from here, and I'm not going to go into detail. This is in my attacking turtle instructional. I'm not going to go into detail. I know from here that if I put weight over my partner's hip, the only way that she can physically stand or physically get back to turtle position is from here. She has to scissor her legs. Her bottom leg has to shoot away. Her top leg has to scissor. And from here, she can get up. If she doesn't do that, and she tries to get up like this, it is physically impossible for her to get up. When she tries to go the opposite direction, and she scissors the legs the other way, now it's very difficult for her to get up, but it's not impossible. But the knee comes so far away from the chest and the elbow, go ahead, that I can always from here insert a hook, and now we have one hook in. Okay. If I knock my partner to a hip, and she stays in this position, and she doesn't try to get up, now she's susceptible to a backhand arm, and now my top hook comes in. So now I have one hook in. All right, and now we can play from here. So I have either the bottom hook or the top hook comes in. If she gets up, the bottom hook comes in. If she doesn't, the top hook comes in. Another way that I can easily insert a hook, so one is knocking my partner to a hip. The other is threatening threatening to knock my partner down to a hip. And if she falls to a hip, we insert a hook. If she doesn't fall to a hip, the only way she can avoid falling to a hip is to open up her turtle. Where now we can cast a far side hook in, or we can cast a near side hook in. And now from here we have one hook in place. So we play a dilemma game between open and closed turtle. If she's a closed turtle, we knock her to a hip and we go from there. If she opens the turtle, we just throw a hook right in. The question is for us, being the bottom player, how can we avoid getting scored on and getting strangled with two hooks in? And that is the golden question we'll be looking at now. My partner's inserting one hook. She's looking to take my back. Let's talk about what she actually needs to secure the position and stay connected to me. Many of you have heard this before. My partner's looking for diagonal control. For those of you who don't know, what is diagonal control? Diagonal control is exactly what it sounds like. Diagonal control ranging from one hip to the opposite side shoulder. So right hip to left shoulder, left hip to right shoulder. If I have my partner's back, I have one hook in from any given position. The only way I can effectively control my partner, if I have control over her left hip with my left leg, is to effectively control her right shoulder in some way, whether it be a variety of grips, whether it be here, whether it be here, whether it be here. I have to do something to control my partner's opposite side shoulder. So that this way, if she tries to explosively turn away from me, the shoulders are controlled. I can keep that upper back to chest connection. If there's no diagonal control, there's no reason why my partner can't just turn away and now she's free. Okay? So whenever I have a hook in, with one hook, I need some form of diagonal control. Okay? In this case, I have a bottom hook and I have the top side shoulder controlled. So I have diagonal control. If I were to switch this, and I have a top side hook in, which is not as preferable, now from here, I need to have some kind of control over the bottom shoulder. Okay? So I need to have control of the right hip with my hook and the left shoulder with some kind of wedging in place. If I didn't have anything in place here, she just walks the far shoulder away from me, and now she can easily turn towards me and beat from here. So I have to control the far side shoulder, so when she goes to walk away from me, I still can control her in some fashion, and then I can use any various follow-ups to go in and take her back and get 2 hooks in. So understand that the whole thing you're trying to avoid when your partner puts one hook in is them getting diagonal control and controlling you from the side of the hook, if they have whatever side hook they have, the hook, the hip, the hook, the hip on the side, the hook is inserted diagonally across to the opposite side shoulder. Okay? Left hip or left shoulder, right hip, right shoulder. If your partner cannot achieve diagonal control, the hook is useless. Alright, so let's say a partner inserts their first hook, whatever side, near side or far side. How can we initially avoid this? If someone just throws a hook in and you're not worried about exposing your back to the floor for whatever rule set you're competing in, you don't want to get your back taken. That's the main priority. Just fall to a hip without allowing your partner to have any control over the far side shoulder. So if my partner knocks me to a hip, I go to get up, she inserts a hook, and she has a hook in like so. What I can't have is a situation where she builds to a position where she gets her left knee on top of my hips and either controls my shoulder or controls my wrist on this side. So what I'm going to do is as I come up, as I come up, she has a tight waist. As I come up, she inserts her hook. The second she inserts her hook, instead of coming back to turtle position, I'm just going to tuck my hand to my own chest like so. So that when she goes to fish for my wrist, it's not impossible to get to, but it's going to take her a little bit longer than if it was just sitting right here. Okay? I tuck my hand to my chest, and I just quickly roll with the intention of connecting my right elbow and my right hip. So when she goes to come back to turtle position and control me diagonally, we just turn inside my partner. We have a right knee and right elbow and right hip connected. So now my partner goes to take my back from here. If she tries to continue to roll towards you guys, I have a wedge between myself and my partner with this forearm across my partner's hips. If she tries to pin me, I have the inside bicep, inside hand, and inside elbow position. So if she tries to pass my guard and pin me from here, I can bring everything back inside and easily recover. Okay? So, let's say, for example, she knocked me to a hip. Or in turtle position. She knocks me to a hip, puts in a strong tight waist. I have to scissor my legs. As I do so, she inserts a hook like so. The second that hook comes in, I immediately take my hand and I just tuck it to my own chest. So when she goes to control my shoulder, it's not impossible, but it's going to take longer. It'll be more difficult. I just quickly sit to my hip. I bring my knee to my own knee. I sit to my hip. And I just tuck my own elbow to my hip. Like so. Now if she continues to try to take my back, it falls apart. If she goes to pass my guard and pin me, that falls apart. We can easily recover. What this will look like, she knocks me down. As I get up, she puts a hook in. I'm just going to roll. She's going to try to follow. And that's what it'll look like. Everything comes back inside. Conversely, let's say from here, she goes to throw in a near side hook. Open turtle, same thing. I just sit as she goes to follow. Same idea. She goes far side hook. Go back. She goes to knock me down. She goes far side hook. The second she goes far side hook, I just immediately sit to this position. Where from here, my left elbow connects to my left hip, and then my hands come back inside. So she goes near side hook. We sit. She goes far side hook. We hide the opposite side shoulder. And we sit. And now we're safe from here. Okay? This is not a move that you dilly-dally around on, and not a move you dilly-dally around on, and you wait for your partner to get control of the far shoulder. The second the hook comes in, you immediately sit. This is a move that you have to do it quickly. The second she knocks me down, the second I feel that hook coming in, we immediately come through and regard. Now, if she tries to follow me, it won't be that easy. She tries to make a legitimate attempt to follow me. And we're back inside, ready to go into our recoveries. Okay? So before she can get the diagonal control, we tuck the hand in as best we can, making it hard to get to the shoulder or to the wrist, and then we just sit to the hip and bring everything back inside. So when your partner has one hook in, you can 4-point out of the position. Let's look at when not 4-point out, and then we'll look at positions we can 4-point out. Whenever I feel my partner has one hook in, and she has two hands behind and underneath my armpits, I cannot 4-point out. Okay? Whenever I feel my partner has a power half, I cannot 4-point out. Okay? So two positions where 4-pointing out is just not going to work from here. One is when my partner has a hook in and she has two hands underneath mine. So she has, just lock your ankles. Good. Put your knee over my hip. Other hip. Left hip. Left hip. Okay. Whenever I feel my partner has two hands underneath my arms, most of the time she'll lock her hands from here. This is not a time to 4-point out from here. It's going to be very hard for me to 4-point because my partner will never fall off the top because she'll never slide past my shoulders. If I can 4-point all I want, my partner's never going to fall off from here. If my partner has a power half, this is not a time to 4-point. My partner's never going to fall off from here, okay, unless the mechanics in the power half are wrong. I'm going to start to build up, and even if I do get to a 4-point, which is very unlikely if the power half is locked, even if I do get to a 4-point, which she digs her elbow into the back of my head, and I try to shake my partner off, it's a very robust position. And I'm just using a ton of energy from here, and eventually my chin's going to get crunched to the chest, and I'm going to get broken down, and it's not going to be great. So whenever I see my partner has one hook in, and she has two hands behind and underneath my arms, don't try to 4-point. You're just wasting your time. Whenever I see my partner has a power half in, don't 4-point. You're just wasting your time, okay? I'm not going to say it's impossible to escape when your partner has double underhooks. You can use some things in clear hooks and stuff like that, and if the power half slips off, you can work your way out. But in general, if the guy is good and he's got double underhooks or power half, I'm not going to 4-point. I'm going to do something else that's going to cost me way less energy, be way more efficient, and take up way less time to escape. I'm not going to 4-point and work for 30 seconds trying to shut the guy off when he has double underhooks and having no success, or maybe having success after a minute when I could just fall to my side and just do other escapes. So in general, I'm not going to say it's impossible to escape when someone puts a power half in and has one hook in, or when they have double underhooks, but I would avoid it. I personally would not move up to a 4-point if I was in those two positions. It can work, but there's a lot better things you can be doing from there. So now let's look at when to 4-point out, okay? Whenever we're looking to 4-point out of turtle position with my partner having one hook in, we can 4-point whenever my partner's either one or two of my partner's hands are on the floor above me, or anytime at least one of my partner's arms is above my shoulders minus a power half. Because the power half, one's under the arm and one's over the back of the head. Okay, so it's technically in front of the shoulders, but you're locked into the shoulder, so it's one of the exceptions. Okay, but anytime my partner has open hands and one hand's on the floor posting, or whether my partner has a back, head, and arm, I can 4-point out and I can shake my partner off the top. Okay, so whenever you see your partner has one hook in from a turtle position and they go with a back, head, and arm, or they just don't have their hands locked at all and you bump them forward and you put a hand on the floor, that's a perfect time to 4-point out and start walking backwards. Okay, now when you 4-point, it's going to be a staggered 4-point, because if you 4-point square, your partner can just insert another hook and they're going to score points at least, and maybe you'll get out, but then you're down points, or maybe you don't get out and then you get broken down, your back gets taken and you get finished. So when I build to a 4-point, it's always going to be a staggered 4-point. Okay, so she has one hook in. She's covering my hip. She has her legs locked. And now from here, she puts a back, head, and arm in, for example. Like so. Okay? From this position, first thing I'm going to look to do is I always have my defensive hands in place. Okay? I can't do anything from here if I'm getting strangled. So the first thing is my defensive hands are in place. Now, I'm always from here going to use an outside leg stand-up. Right now she's on my right side, so I have to use an outside leg stand-up. Why? If I use an inside leg stand-up, you will expose your left hip and your partner can easily throw a long hook across, 2 hooks in, or even worse, a long hook across, by the way. A long hook across, and now you're getting body triangled. Okay? So I always, from this position, go back. I always use an outside leg stand-up. So I have a defensive hand in place. I step up with an outside leg from here. Okay? So now when she goes to insert a body triangle or insert a second hook, she can't do it. Now from here, I build up, and the second I build up, when I take my right knee off the floor, it will bump my partner too far forward to strangle me. So when my right knee leaves the ground, my left hand can now come off as a primary hand and go to the floor. So I just lean forward, and as I lean forward, now if my partner tries to strangle me from here, there's no strangle, because of the fact that my ear and jaw are connected to my shoulder. So when she goes to punch a strangle hand in, she can't actually get past the jaw and open over the shoulder. So there's no strangle from here. Now, if I'm square, she just inserts a second hook, and I run into some problems here. So I always first connect my jaw to my shoulder, and then I bring my left knee forwards, like so. So when she goes to insert a hook, it's a very difficult thing to do. And now from here, I just walk backwards, and I take my right hand towards my center line. My partner will always fall off the top. So we come in. She has a hook in. She covers the hip. She's doing everything she could. She did everything she's supposed to. We go in. 1, defensive hand in place. 2, outside leg stand-up. 3, she tries to insert a hook. There's no hook that's going to come into place. The second, my right knee and right elbow leave the floor, my partner will come too far forward to actually strangle me. So now, the second I unlock my hands, she goes to shoot a strangle in. There's no strangle available. And now I just walk my knee and elbow together. When she goes to strangle me from here, she can't. When she goes to insert her second hook, she can't. And now, my hand comes in, and now I just walk and I shake. Really try to hold on.
I'm trying.
Defensive hand, outside leg stand up. I build like so. When she goes to strangle me, she can't. When she goes to hold on from here, You can always take our partner out and over to the side, and they will always fall off the top. So from here, we use a staggered 4-point, standard 4-point, staggered 4-point, like so. So now everything is falling over in this direction, and I'm very robust and stable on this side, and there's no chance of me getting scored on. So we use a staggered 4-point to take our partner off when she inserts one hook. If we move to a 4-point and she switches to a power half or switches her hands as we're coming up, double underhooks, like I said, I recommend falling back down and doing something else. But if she stays with a top, head, and arm, or her hand ends up on the floor, then I recommend using a staggered 4-point, walking backwards and shucking my partner off. All right, so now let's look at, just before we go into crucifix stuff, we're going to close out our opponent having one hook in place. When our opponent has one hook, the first thing we're trying to do is to stop them from obtaining diagonal control. So if they have one hook in and they don't have control of the opposite side shoulder, it means nothing. If we can quickly rotate and put our back on the floor, we can bring everything back inside and easily re-guard. Assuming our partner has one hook in, some form of control over the far shoulder, we look at what position they're in. If they have two arms underneath and behind my shoulders and underneath my armpits with double wrist control, with two shoulders, or locked hands in a rear chest lock, I don't recommend 4-pointing. It's not impossible to escape from there, but there are far better things you can do. If your partner puts in a power half, again, not impossible to escape from there, but there are far better things you can do. Those are the two positions I don't recommend 4-pointing in. Anytime your partner's hands are unlocked or your partner has a backhanded arm, you can easily 4-point out into a staggered 4-point, and you can shuck your partner off the top. Okay, remember, when you stand up, don't go to a standard square 4-point. It's a staggered 4-point with a knee and elbow connected on one side so they can't insert a second hook. And then I walk the hand towards the center line to hide the shoulder so your partner slides off as you walk backwards. And you end up in top position, usually in a top half guard. So it's actually a pretty good position you end up in when your partner falls off of you. Okay. So if your partner has one hook in, you can easily 4-point out, assuming their hands are unlocked or they have a backhanded arm. If not, I generally recommend picking a side you want to escape from, falling towards the side of the hook or falling away, and then putting your back on the floor and going into your standard back escapes with one hook in and working from there. Okay. Now let's go into some crucifix stuff where your partner enters into a back crucifix from a turtle position. All right, let's look at a back crucifix. First of all, what is a back crucifix? A back crucifix is a situation where my partner uses her legs to trap my near side arm, and then usually uses her hands in some configuration to trap either my far side arm or my head and my far side arm. Okay, she can use this to stop me from standing up, and she can use this to go into attacks on my back. She can use this to go into other various submissions. This is a very versatile position, so it's good for her to enter into. Okay, how can she enter into a back crucifix from this position? Couple of ways. Number one, if we're in a turtle position and she's behind me, and from here, if at any point my hand comes too far out, like so, she can reach with her front leg and she can trap my hand like so. Okay? If at any point, usually what she's going to do if she's looking to set a crucifix up, is she's going to put her rear knee down behind my elbow, and front leg up, and she's going to work from here. And she's going to try to put my hand between her two legs and trap like so, okay? So anytime my arm is too far extended, out and away, she can just reach forward quickly and catch. Anytime she's trying to force me into a crucifix, she will use her rear knee to wedge between my elbow, to bow my elbow out, to grab my inside wrist, and from here drag the wrist out and hook like so. Okay, so there's a couple different scenarios my partner can use from turtle position to set it up, and she can also use it from various other positions, like a referee position, where she has a rear chest lock, for example. And from here, she reaches through and she catches. Or she reaches through with the rear leg and she catches. Same thing from a 4-point. She can go through, she can pull the arm out, and now she can drive me down to my right shoulder. And I have no base of support, and I fall back down. She can return me to the mat. Okay? So this is a very versatile position, and you can use it for many different reasons. Okay, to keep me down, to switch to other positions, to switch to submissions. There's tons of things she can do from here. So just basic setups. How she can enter into a crucifix. Either my arm's too far extended, I'm reaching too much, or she physically wedges my elbow in place and then traps it with her opposing leg. Or if I'm trying to build up into a standing position, whether it be with head first or hips first in a 4-point, she can drag the arm, she can capture the arm, drag it out, return me back to the floor, and keep me down so I can't build up back to my feet and use standing escapes. Okay, so back crucifix is always going to be a situation where my partner has control over my near side arm in some way, and either my head and arm, like so, my head and arm with a figure 4 back head and arm, like so, or grab my wrist, other hand, like so, or just control over my far side arm, like so. Okay, so a couple of different things that my partner can be doing from this position, and my partner can use the front leg to trap my arm, or the rear leg to trap my arm. Okay, so she can use both, and then she can work from here in various ways. Okay, she can also take her right hand behind my armpit, and from here she can go in and she can play with her rear chest lock from here, where now she has control over my arm and she has good control over my shoulders as well. So when I go to move from here, she keeps the arm trapped, and I feel like I can't move from here. I go to roll, I go to stand up, I can't do that. I go to roll through, she follows me through, and it just turns into a very controlling position from there. Okay, so she has many options on how she can play, but the main thing is she traps my near arm in some way with her legs, and then she has control over my head and shoulders and my forearm. She controls the entire width of my shoulders and usually both of my arms when we end up in a back crucifix, especially when we're facing belly up. So we'll look at some of those attacks and defenses right now. All right, so let's look at how to escape a crucifix if my partner traps my arm and she uses her front leg to trap my arm. Okay, we can always hit the Makikomi roll through and roll our partner through, like I'm about to show you in the next sequence. But this is a great alternative if you don't want to do that. Okay, so she goes in, she traps with the near side, the front leg like so, and she has either a backhanded arm or maybe a kimura on the far side, or whatever the case is from here. Usually a backhanded arm is more robust from here when we're playing in a situation like so. From here, I go in and I take a drag grip of my partner's arm like so. Now you're thinking, well, you don't have a primary defensive hand then, why? Because from here, my partner's arm is controlled above the elbow, and my jaw and ear are connected to my shoulder on this side, on the left side of my body here. So this means when my partner tries to actually shoot a strangle in, she physically cannot pull her elbow back far enough to free her hand enough to shoot across my neck. And even if she did, it would be hard to put a strangle in place in the time allowed, because of the fact that she can't get through and underneath my jaw and in between my jaw and my shoulder on the left side here. Okay, so from here, we grab my partner's arm like so. When she goes to retract that arm, it's difficult. When she goes to take the hand up high and put the strangle in, it's wedged in place. It physically can't get past my armpit. And from here, if she actually does free it, it's a difficult thing to actually go in and get through. If I feel, for whatever reason, my partner's so good that she pulls the arm out and she's going to get underneath my jaw, because if there's time allowed, she can get underneath my jaw and she can go underneath and she can lift the jaw. If I feel like my partner's so good and I'm not creating enough movement, I just look towards my partner and I connect my chin and my jaw to the other shoulder. So now when she goes to strangle me, there's just not enough time allowed, and she can get around my neck, but the angle's all wrong. It's not ever going to strangle me from here. Okay? So from this position, we can first go in and we catch a drag grip, like so, and we just look towards our left shoulder, and we connect our partner's bicep to our neck on this side. So there's extra friction. There's a wedge in the bicep and the tricep. So when she goes to pull that arm out, it's a very difficult thing to do. I don't initially look to my right shoulder because now there's less friction between my partner's arm and my partner's arm and my body. So with sweat, it's an easier thing for her to slip the arm out. Whereas here, when she goes to pull that arm out now, it's really wedged in place. Okay? And worst case scenario, if she pulls it out, it's hard to strangle me from here. If I feel like she has a perfect insertion point, I just turn towards my partner, and it's difficult for her to strangle me. Okay? But this is something that's pretty unlikely to happen in the time that she has here. Now I'm going to take my right hand and catch a grip over my partner's knee like so. And all I'm going to look to do is put my forehead on the floor, and I'm going to pull my partner down to a hip. Like so. When she goes to heist from this position, she cannot pull her right elbow out to post on her hand, and she can't pull her right knee out to get up to her knee. So when she goes to get up from here and recover, she can't. Her best bet now is to keep her hands locked and to try to control the back head and arm. When she goes to keep her hands locked from here, I just start moving to a position where I can take my head to center, and now from here, I just lift, and I pull my partner towards me. Now, you're going to land in side control perfectly every time? No, probably not. But you're going to get out of the position. You're not going to be crucifixed, and you're going to be on top of your partner. Okay? So she goes in. She uses the front leg trap, and she has a back head and arm. She has a back head and arm. We'll use that for now. We come in, we use a drag grip, and we work into a situation like so. We bow forward to put the forehead down, and we put our partner to a hip by pulling the knee towards us. Like so. When she goes to heist and recover, she can't. If she unlocks her hands, she dooms herself to failure right away. Her best bet is to keep the hands locked. And as she does that, lock, tight, tight, tight. I just center the head, and from here, we're ready to recover and potentially pass. Okay? If she locks a Kimura from there, it's actually much easier. So she goes in here, and she locks Kimura. Now, she has no control over my head. So from here, I just, again, put the forehead on the floor, I pull the knee, and I put my partner's hip on the ground. Now from here, we just reach through and just physically strip the Kimura grip off. When she goes to hold on tight, I physically strip the Kimura grip off, I post the hand, I build tight. And now we're out once again. Okay? Your partner's best line of defense from here is she has a Kimura. So when I go to pull her hip to the floor, I pull the hip to the floor, but she posts the hand on the floor to not fall completely down to her shoulder. Whenever I see this, from here, it's a pretty easy thing to start walking my legs out and away. And from here, as she goes to follow me, my head can pop out, and now I'm ready to go and chase my partner's back. So this time, I pull my partner's knee in. Instead of falling to his shoulder, if she falls to his shoulder, she's doomed. Instead of falling to his shoulder, she falls to a hip and a hand. And now as she goes to follow me, the head comes out. This time, as she falls down, she's going to legitimately try to heist. I'm going to legitimately try to free my head. And we just keep moving in a circle until the head can come free. This is the most difficult one to deal with because your partner can still remain with her head higher than yours. But as she goes to continue to cut the corner, my whole thing is to connect my head to my partner's hip. And we're out. When she goes to stay glued to me, and we're out and ready to go. So 3 scenarios. One is she goes back, head and arm. We use a drag grip. and we're out. 2, she goes Kimura. 3, she goes falls to a hand. And we're out. And finally 4 is she locks a chest lock. Where now this move will not work anymore. She'll be able to stay up with the chest lock, and I have to go into Maki Komes, which is what we're going to do right now. All right, so when will we use a far side shoulder roll versus a crucifix? We just saw one example right now when there's a chest lock, both hands behind, and she has control with her front leg. Anytime you can't get your partner's hip to the floor, just go far side shoulder. Anytime your partner's trapping your arm with their rear leg, go far side shoulder. If you can't put their hip on the floor, you gotta go into a far side shoulder roll, okay? So anytime I can't return the hip to the floor when my arm's trapped in front, I gotta step over a leg. Anytime my leg is trapped or my arm is trapped with the rear leg, like so, or a backhanded arm, from here, from this position, I gotta go into a far side shoulder roll, okay? And usually, when someone has this leg trapped like so, she either goes near side, like so, and she blades the hips, or she goes, she goes front leg, or she goes rear leg, and she blades the hips, and from here, scissors the legs. So when she goes to free that arm, the arm is trapped. When she goes to take it back to the front leg and tries to grab my knee, it's a difficult thing to do, okay? And now from here, you have to start sitting and stepping over your partner's leg and rolling to bottom position, okay? So whenever I feel my leg's trapped, usually a backhanded arm happens, I try to take my arm to the front to start to trap her front knee. It's not gonna happen, all right? Whenever I see this, I'm gonna roll to bottom position. So I put a defensive hand in place, like so, and now I'm just gonna roll to bottom position by either 1, if I can, I trap my partner's leg. Usually, if the rear leg is trapping my arm, it's gonna be difficult. If the front leg is trapping my arm, it'll be a little bit easier to trap my partner's near leg, okay? Regardless, we're gonna roll through and we're gonna sit down to our hips and down to our back. If I feel like I can trap my partner's leg, great. If I feel like I can't, then we have to just roll through, okay? First thing we're gonna look to do is roll our partner through by either sitting, if I walk towards my partner's hips, my knee comes to my knee, I just roll over the far shoulder like so, okay? This is number 1. Number 2 is from here. We can actually get a hold of our partner's leg, however it may be, whether it's like so, or usually like so. We roll through and we trap our partner's leg, okay? We're gonna look at a bunch of escapes from this position where I don't have my partner's arm or I don't have my partner's leg trapped, and a position where we can trap our partner's leg, okay? So this is going to be our starting position. We're going to look at escapes from crucifix once we actually get our partner rolled through into a position of not relative safety, but a situation where we're not internal. We're still in a lot of danger from here, okay? Again, we're not really internal anymore, so I'm just going to run through a couple of quick escape options from crucifix. I can spend hours teaching escape options from here, but I'm just going to do a quick few ones to give you guys the basics if you guys get caught in crucifix from turtle position. Okay, so let's take a look at a situation where my partner has a backhanded arm and she rolls me through, and from here, the front leg is trapping. Okay, so if we inverted this, she comes up, we come in, the front leg has me trapped, and from here, I can get a hold of my partner's leg. So I roll through, And from here, we're in a situation like so. If I can trap my partner's leg, like so, it's going to be a pretty easy, when I say easy, easier, it's going to be pretty easy to actually free my arm, okay? When she goes to keep my arm trapped from this position, it's a difficult thing to actually move your arm out and away, but if I have control over my partner's leg, I can always split my partner's knees, okay? So whenever I can split my partner's knees, I just take my knee sweeping towards my other knee, and from this position, when she goes to hold on, I just turn my elbow down, and I just walk my hips towards my partners. And now from here, we just slip the elbow free, and now we're out. Now it's just a matter of taking the elbow to the inside, and we're free, okay? What controls me is the arm being trapped. Once the arm is trapped, you're out, okay? So whenever I can control the leg, like so, and she goes to keep strong control of me, if my hips are angled out and away, this is what makes it hard for me to slip the elbow. So from here, I just control my partner's legs, I sweep the knee towards my own knee, so I separate the knees, and then I just walk my hips towards my partner's. Now, if I stay with my thumb pointing towards the ceiling, I get stuck. So I turn my thumb down. When my partner goes to keep my arm trapped from here, I just turn my thumb down, and I just work the elbow free with small kipping movements. And from here, the thumb turns down, and then it's just a matter of time when she goes to hold on, I just walk, and I pull the elbow free. The key is the turning of the thumb down. If I keep my hand here and its thumb up, when she goes to control me from here, it's going to be a difficult thing for me to escape. So I control the space between the knees with the control of my legs, and then I just shovel my hips towards and underneath hers, like so, and this will help me raise my right shoulder. If my right shoulder is parallel with the floor, you'll never be able to turn your thumb all the way down. So I shovel my hips underneath my partner's like so, and now, as my shoulder comes up, my thumb can turn all the way down, and from here, I can pull my arm free and take my elbow to the inside position, okay? So that's assuming I can trap my partner's leg, and the front leg has my arm trapped. Now let's assume that, for whatever reason, we cannot trap our partner's leg as we roll. So we just fall to our hip, we roll our partner through, and we're in a crucifix position like so. Whenever I see this, I just walk my partner's knees to the floor. She wants to keep her knees pointing out towards you guys, out towards the camera. So from here, I just catch my partner's knee like so. She goes to really keep her knees pointing towards the ceiling. All I'm going to look to do is I'm just going to look to walk and pull my elbow down towards my partner. Strong. She wants to keep her knees here. She goes to strongly keep her knees in the center. I just walk, I just pull the knees down. All I need is enough space to be able to get my knee inside my partner's knee. And now from here, when she goes to keep my arm trapped, I just use a knee wedge to physically pull my elbow free, and now I'm out. Okay? So we have what is the rear leg now, the far leg, trapped in my arm. I feel like I can't free the arm from here. Okay? From this position, she has a good control over the crucifix. I can't free the arm. She goes to keep her knees pointing towards the ceiling the best she can. I just walk, I cup the knee, and I pull the knee towards me. Again, strong body. Like so. And now from here, we just insert a knee. We go knee to elbow. She goes to hold on tight. We use a shearing motion to take the elbow free, and now we're ready to go in with all of our various escapes from here. Okay? Let's say she switches now to the other leg. And now she has control over my arm in this fashion. Again, from here I just pull my own thumb to my chest, and she goes to keep her legs pointing towards the ceiling. I just walk everything down and away. Okay? If I feel like I'm dealing with someone who's uber strong from here, I can put my own hand inside my thigh, and I just walk down the best I can. And now from here, we just put a leg on top of our partner's knee, and we use that same shearing motion to go in and free our hand. So very basic options to free our hands if my partner's trapping with the other leg. From here, I pull the leg down towards me. This is harder to do with this leg trapping your arm. So if I have to, I can go in and I can reach the inside of my own leg, and I can physically walk my partner's legs down towards me. From this position, we can go in and we can use that same knee wedge to clear our elbow from the inside. Like so. Hold on tight. Push your legs. We go in, we use that same knee wedge. We can use a combination of top knee and bottom knee to free our elbow however we see fit when depending on our partner's leg positions. Okay? And again, these are very basic escapes. There are tons of different upper body positions, tons of different lower body positions. You can have triangled legs, you can have unlocked legs, scissored legs. There's a ton of different positions we can spend here. I could spend hours teaching crucifix escapes, but these are the main escapes and the most basic escapes that we can look at from crucifix. Okay, we roll through, and we can either trap our partner's leg on the roll through, or we can't trap our partner's leg on the roll through, and as our partner rolls through, she traps with either the front or the back leg. And then from there, we're looking to use a combination of our legs and our hands. You have to turn the thumb in different directions and use knee wedging in order to pull the elbow free. Once the elbow is free, it's a pretty easy thing to get your elbow to the floor and go to an escape. Okay, so those are very basic escapes to a back crucifix that you can use to free your arm and start to go into your escapes. Again, not turtle position, so I'm not going deep into it. I will teach crucifix escapes in a different instructional at some point in the future. And I can, again, teach those for hours. There's tons of different escapes you can do from there, but that's not the focus of this one, so we're going to end it with the basic escapes there. Okay, now we're going to go into a closing statement and outro. I'm pretty sure I don't have anything else to do on crucifix right now, so I think we're going to go into an outro, and then we'll be done. All right, guys, so a little closing statement here. We have about 7 hours of footage plus the technique plus the rolling footage. So a lot of in-depth stuff on front headlock and turtle escapes. Two very undertaught positions in the sport, and two positions that you see most of the time when they're being taught. You either see classical jiu-jitsu or classical wrestling. You never see the unification of the two sports being used when the highest level guys are teaching, or anyone teaching for that matter. You usually just see either, okay, here's how we roll to guard, here's how we sit to half guard, here's how we do this or do that, and then here's how we stand up and we get away and we break hands apart. Usually taught by guys who wrestle. What most people do in jiu-jitsu is when it's time for like an ADCC camp, for example, we do what is called the bolt-on method, where guys hire some random wrestler or D1 guy or a good wrestler, whatever the case is. They hire a wrestler, he comes in, he teaches pure wrestling moves, and they kind of take those wrestling moves that they learn, they bolt them on to whatever jiu-jitsu they already have, and then they kind of just try to put everything together on the game day, and that's it. Whereas our approach is, instead of just bolting on the wrestling moves, we actually take the wrestling moves and we see which ones first are applicable to our sport, and then after which ones are applicable, we say, okay, how can we modify these and make them better for the rules that we're playing with? Okay, because the rules are very different, the scoring criteria is very different, and the moves have to be different in some cases. So I think that's the challenge for not just me, not just for you guys, but for me as well, is to unify wrestling and jiu-jitsu as one whole submission grappling sport. So I wanted to go over both traditional wrestling escapes and classical jiu-jitsu escapes and show the differences in position between the two sports and how we have to modify the position slightly from one sport to the other. We went over front headlock escapes with sitting to guard, entering into our partner's legs, and basic standing wrestling escapes. Then we went into defending go-behinds, defending some submissions, and then, of course, turtle escapes were broken down into a couple of main categories with the near side shoulder rolls, far side shoulder rolls, inside leg, outside leg stand-up, things like that, where we used a combination of the threat of standing up or the threat of rolling to guard to find a way to eventually face our partner or go into some kind of counter offense and submit them. And then we went into some obscure things that can happen from a turtle position or a front headlock where you get crucifixed and you have to roll your partner through and escape from there, or they put one hook in, what can we do from there? You get pretty deep into a rabbit hole when you start getting into, okay, now you can escape and you can go into wrestling moves where you can start chain wrestling, and maybe you go from a front headlock to a single leg and then you switch to a double, and then you're into body locks and you're standing up and you're wrestling. So it gets pretty fun and pretty interesting. Once the scrimmage wrestling program eventually comes out in a couple of years, whenever it is ready to come out, a lot of stuff that you see today, or when you're watching this instructional, will make a lot more sense because it'll mesh together really well with all the scrimmage wrestling stuff. And a lot of the stuff you've already seen. You see, I referenced match with Kaina, match with Philip Rowe. There's a lot of stuff from here in the match with Hulk at ADCC. So it's very applicable stuff, especially to fighting and to ADCC IBJJF rules. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and let me know what you think. And thank you to Sunny. BJJ Fanatics, I know this is a rough one for Sunny. She doesn't really do turtle too much, and it's her 16th instructional, so she's getting beat up and worn out, right?
That was a rough one. I did some mistakes. I didn't know what to do, and you never let me know what to do. So it was rough. I got yelled at by behind the cameras, so it was not good.
Blue belts.
No. Sorry guys, I tried. It's hard. It's not easy. I never know what we're gonna do. I never know the moves. So it's complicated. And besides that, we have 110 pounds different size, so it's really complicated. To lock a body triangle.
90 pounds.
How can you block a body triangle? That's the max I can lock it.
Did I ask you to lock a body triangle at all?
You did one time. Yeah, you did.
A body triangle?
Yeah, you did.
When did I ask you to lock a body triangle?
From one hook in.
I didn't ask you to lock a body triangle.
What did you ask me?
I asked you to shoot your hook across as though you were trying to lock a body triangle.
Oh my gosh. And the other one was lock my feet. That's how you lock your feet, right? With Gordon, I lock my toes because it can't. He's too fat right now. So it was a little rough, but I hope you guys enjoy. I did my best.
You see that? If you have big muscles, you're impervious to moves.
Anyways, thank you guys. This is how a normal person lock a body triangle, right? They just put it here and they just lock a body triangle. On you, I have to purposely shoot my leg as far as I can, hold.
I'm not gonna let you.
And I have to adjust. And it's barely. Now, there's one here. Barely. So it's hard. It's not an easy thing. It's not easy. Okay, enough. Bye, guys.